How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living on the average American salary? I just watched a TikTok of a teacher who makes a teacher's salary. I don't know what state she's in, so I don't know how much she makes, but her one bedroom apartment is $2,000. And when she spends $2,000 on that one bedroom apartment, it doesn't even come with a washer and dryer. So she has to go pay an additional $2 every time she wants to use their washer and dryer. Okay, like, how does that leave her any extra money to spend? And then she said she had a $400 car payment, which some people were bashing her on that. But in today's economy with interest rates, that's really not that bad. And I'm sure she needs a dependable car. So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment. You got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. Like, I don't understand how people are affording life right now, and it really makes me sad for some people. You have people who are like her. She's single, she has her own salary, or families where it just works out best for them for the mother to stay home. And if the father is just making an average American salary, how are they affording life without going in a bunch of debt? This lady who's a teacher started crying because she said she realizes on her salary and where she lives, she will actually end up in more debt. Then, like, she will just continue to accrue more debt and more debt and more debt because her salary is not matching the cost of living. And what's sad is I've seen people be like, just spend less. Listen, guys, the cost of living is rising and our salaries are stagnant. Okay, so there's not just spend less. That's not the problem here. The problem is the cost of living is outrageous, and minimum wage in some states is still $7.25. Teachers in some states are still paid a ridiculously low salary, even though their job is super important. I don't know what we can do about this, but I'm just going on a rant because it really, really pisses me off. How are people affording life right now?
Hey, we're out here living in vehicles like vans and buses and campers or truck campers and tents and stuff like that, where we don't have rent, we don't have utility bills, we don't have that kind of stuff. So like this, welcome to my house, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, living room, and then of course this is my everyday driving vehicle as well. So the only bills I have to pay are my car payment or van payment, which that's almost paid off, my gas, my cell phone, and insurance. I mean, materialism and consumerism, that's what's really got us all out here jacked, because everybody thinks they need more. I can tell you from experience, you really don't need as much as you think you do. But do I want more space? Absolutely.
How are people affording life right now?
Well, for one, me and my wife don't have any kids. And another reason is we're still driving this bad boy. 2004 single cab F-150. I don't think this thing has ever had a car payment. And my wife drives a 2013 Prius that we paid off in 2020. And in 2020, I enlisted in the Coast Guard. And then the house that we have now, because of the VA loan, we were able to get with zero money down. And we got a 3.5% interest because we bought it in 2021. And even though I enlisted, I would say the pay is pretty good, especially if you have dependents, and get free healthcare for me and my spouse. So that saves us a lot of money. My wife was a teacher for 7 years, and before the Coast Guard, I had never made more than $30,000 a year. We make a budget every month, and we don't have credit cards. But I'd say the biggest factor is not having any kids.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
We're not. Truth of the matter, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck with credit card debt. I know people who are legitimately putting gas and groceries on credit cards just so that they can get back and forth to work. I believe that this is what most people are now calling the silent depression. $100 has become the new $20, and it's ridiculous. But the best thing about it is that people have shifted their core values. Look at this app alone and all the videos of all the retailers on Black Friday that nobody was there. They just don't care anymore. People are realizing that if it doesn't bring value into my life, then I don't need it. And while I don't get political on this app, you're having people on both sides of the aisles going, yeah, this kind of sucks. Right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter. It's the same bird. And now so many Americans are going, I truly just, I don't care. I think it's woken a lot of people up to the idea of why are we funding things that we don't care about when all of us right here are struggling. It's changed the people's attitude in the workforce to where a job is just a job. You used to be very loyal to a job, but they've seen that there's no employee loyalty because there's no employer loyalty. People aren't putting up with toxic bosses anymore. You're either going to treat me right or I'm going to leave, because there's tons of companies that are hiring because nobody can find help. People just don't trust the system anymore, and they're starting to focus on what matters the most. Most people are out here making more money than they ever have and realizing that it's not going anywhere, so they're just not spending it. And what has made a lot of people turn their back on the system is that now they somehow either make too much or not enough money to qualify for the government assistance that they've been paying into their entire life. There are people out there who can't afford to buy the groceries, but they make too much money to get the food stamps. A lot of people are out here calling it the depression. I like to call it the awakening. People are just realizing how much they can get done on their own and that they don't need the government to hold their hand. So to go back to your question, how are people making it? Financially, I don't really know, but I'm very grateful that people are starting to look for answers.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
I'm going to say a few things that nobody wants to hear, but please just hear me out for a second. My name is Megan. I talk all about personal finance on my page, and the reason why a lot of people are not affording life right now is because of their lifestyle. In the video, the lady mentioned someone she knows who's a teacher, and we all know that teachers don't get paid enough, which is very unfortunate. But she also mentions that she lives in a one-bedroom and has a $400 car payment. When I graduated college, my starting salary was $45,000, and I was not living at home with my parents. Instead, I lived with roommates. 3 years later, I'm 25 years old, I'm now making $78,000, and yet I still choose to live with roommates. And last year, one of the biggest financial mistakes I did was buy my car, and although it was within my budget and I needed it for work, I regret making these payments, and I didn't know that I would lose my job that same year. And through this experience, I didn't have a job, I had student loans and a car payment, and how was I surviving through all of this? The simple solution is just cutting your spending or increasing your income with side hustles, and luckily I did both. Was it exhausting? Yes. Was it easy? No. But I promise you that if you just make these simple changes, you will change your life financially.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
They're in debt. The majority of people aren't in debt. Mortgage underwriter here for the past 17 years, and I review people's income, assets, and credit. The amount of debt load that people carry is very high. Also, another thing is, please note that sometimes people who look like they are the wealthiest and have the most material things, boats, expensive vacation, luxury, everything, are the people that are in the most amount of debt and on the brink of losing it all or bankruptcy. And the people that sometimes have the most simple life, use cars, use clothes, or they don't look like anything extraordinary or glamorous, are the people that have the most wealth accumulated and saved. But aside from that, just from reviewing and currently reviewing loans, I also looked at a study in the Federal Reserve Q2 of 2023, and they reported that total American household debt was at $103,000 and $103,358 for Q2 of 2023 for total household debt. And the average used auto payment was $528. The average monthly new car payment was $729. And the average amount of debt per individual was $6,358. These figures are very high, and it is no surprise how some people are struggling right now to make ends meet, even if they have high incomes. So please don't ever feel like you are behind, because sometimes people that may look like they have a glamorous life may be in a worse position than people that don't have that. You are not behind in life, and it is hard for many people, even with a dual income or high income, to make ends meet, be able to save and plan ahead. So follow for more.
How are people affording life right now? Literally. My car insurance, for example, went up back in August. No wrecks, no tickets, nothing. I have no DUIs, like nothing crazy. I'm a middle-aged driver. Anyhow. But I was signing up for my benefits for this next year, and guess what? Doubled. Literally almost doubled. Health insurance. I don't even use it. I get like my normal stuff that's preventative, that's free, but I don't even use my health insurance. I literally don't. Knock on wood, thank the Lord above. I break a leg or something, I have it. But now I'm going to be paying like, I think $600 and some a month for insurance when it was only $300 something. Am I getting paid more? No. Nurses usually get like a 2 to 3% raise, sometimes a cost of living adjustment. But yeah.
I hate when people are like, oh my God, how do you afford to spend so much money? Like, how do you afford to live in LA? I have credit card debt. I have credit card debt. What do you mean, how do I afford it? I don't afford it. I put on my credit card and then I pretend like I didn't.
Get a side hustle. Along with your regular, like, job, get something else that will make you money. Or like maybe 1, 2, or 3 different sources of money will help you a lot. I'm 19, I live alone in Los Angeles, and I have my main job, and I have like 3 other like side hustles. So I have 4 streams of income. The side hustle I make the most money off of is DoorDash, and I think everyone should go sign up for DoorDash if you're looking for extra money, because it's so worth it. Literally, you just pick up orders and you drop them off. Simple. I also make money on TikTok, and I'm partnered with a social media company. They pay me to just post videos for them on here, so that's easy too. Literally, just find something that you're good at and try to make money off of it. It's so simple. Or maybe like sell clothes. Just do something other than your regular job. If it's not making you enough money, make money another way with that job. That's how I'm able to afford my car, which, by the way, to answer the other questions, I have a 2021 Toyota Corolla SE. It's like the Nightshade package or whatever. Also, my car payment is like higher. It's a $550 car payment because my loan term is for 3 years. So I'm paying off my car in 3 years. I bought my car in May. So I'm really not paying that much if I'm paying it off in 3 years from now. So also a disclaimer, I'm speaking from my point of view, like as a single 19-year-old that only has to worry about paying for myself in life. I'm speaking for everyone in my similar situation. I'm not talking about anyone with kids who doesn't have the time for an extra like source of income. Anyway, that's it.
The cost of living in 2023 is so bad that I'm pretty sure I actually was better off financially when I was making minimum wage in 2012 versus me making almost $100,000 today. In 2012, I lived with my roommate in a 2-bedroom apartment, and our rent was $700. So we paid $350 each. I paid maybe $150 a month for groceries. Our utilities were maybe $100 a month for everything. And my take-home pay, making minimum wage, was probably, I don't know, $1,300, $1,400 a month. After all of my expenses and necessities, I had so much money left over. I mean, not like a lot of money, but like several $100s left over. I was able to go out to eat multiple times per week. I mean, nothing fancy, but like I was still able to go out. I was able to like go shopping. I really liked buying makeup and clothes, and I was able to do that. Now in 2023, I pay $3,300 a month for rent in British Columbia. Obviously split in 2, so I pay $1,650 of that. Utilities are at least $200 or $300 a month. I have a student loan payment, several $100s a month. I had to move outside the city, so now I have to have a car. I have, like, gas prices are ridiculous. Car insurance in British Columbia. It adds up. And obviously I am making a decent salary. I can afford it. But I really feel like I had a lot more disposable income in 2012 when I was making minimum wage.
How are people surviving financially nowadays? Because me and my husband make decent money. We only have 1 child. We have regular cars. We're still paying them off, so we have car payments. We live in a decent area, nothing fancy. And I feel like we're constantly struggling. And there's people that make less money than me and us, actually, and they're living wild lives. Like, are people just racking up all this debt? Or am I just doing something really, really, really wrong? Because I feel like I'm always trying to pay something off, or I'm always on a budget. And then student loans are due next month and nobody's talking about it. Like, How?
The salary you need to make today to live like your parents did 40 years ago, making $30K a year, is totally depressing. In a TikTok video, financial expert Robert Gill explained that, adjusted for inflation, please sit down and have your emotional support person on standby before proceeding, you'd have to make $162,342 to have the same purchasing power. Now, it's important to understand that inflation isn't just the prices of things going up. It's also the broader price increases across sectors, industries, and ultimately an entire country's economy in general. So it's not just that, say, housing prices are up since 1983. A dollar is actually worth less than it was previously. This is why we're all feeling the pinch, and also why our parents don't seem to get it. Boomers telling us to work harder isn't going to suddenly make our dollars worth more, which led several commenters to ask Gill the question probably on everyone's mind. Does inflation ever really go down? His response, it hasn't in the last 40 years. And this of course means that as the value of our money continues to decrease, the amount of money needed to live a stable life will continue to increase. And unless we do something, like say reining in corporate power by having reasonable corporate tax rates like the ones we had even during the beloved Reagan era, for instance, a comfortable life on a normal salary will become more and more unattainable to us average folks.